So what? Are you gonna start stealing food fairies or something? Granted, you don't have much competition at the moment. We opened on Himiko's limo that I'm only now noticing has a freaking face as though it were banging the cab. However, I don't think even Roger Rabbit had Disney money like this spoiled brat. Still, all the money in the world couldn't distract her from the girl's growing popularity that was only being exacerbated by her father donating a solid gold statue to them. Also, nice touch here covering up Miss Bellum's face as usual, but more than anything, I can't help but notice this one kid and his creepy ass face.
I like turtles.
Meanwhile, the Amoeba Boys were discussing their next course of action the same way most politicians go about it. It ended up falling on Lady, who suggested they literally take a page out of Arsène Lupin's book. At the same time, the girls, in the funniest bit of this episode, all imagined versions of the statue where they were the centerpiece. Personally, I love Miyako's version the best, as while Momoko and Kaoru were predictably egocentric, the bubbles of this team seem to have the lowest opinion of her teammates, seeing them mostly as just their tropes. Anyway, they were hanging out at the Kintoki confection shop and were able to see Soichiro try to give Sakurako a gift. Can someone tell his jazz singers to stop orgasming? However, he chickened out at the last minute and made it seem like he was talking about the PPGZ, much to Sakurako's dismay, and setting up a plot point for later. Said girls left to deal with the possible threat, and I say that with the biggest quotation marks possible, of the Amoeba Boys. And as they were leaving, we got a nicely done subtle shot of them passing by Himiko's limo. It's a little detail that they did need to include since it's so blink and you'll miss it, but still appreciated. But yeah, to release some of her frustrations in regards to the girls, Himiko placed a special order at the confection shop of a giant strawberry mochi. This is the world we live in because of Grubhub. Not wanting to bother her as she was making a dessert with several plantations worth of strawberries, Soichiro left his gift to Sakurako, which she ended up mistaking as something Himiko had forgotten. Back with the Amoeba Boys, they were planning on stealing the girls' statue, and in order to pull off the full Phantom Thief effect, they also needed some stationery to write a warning letter. Toy, why do you like to put literal heads on your monster's crotches? When that predictably didn't work, they tried to get some money to buy their supplies by winning the lottery. Understandably, Lei didn't want to work with these idiots anymore. Our heroines then found them, and the Amoeba Boys, minus one girl, tried to consult them about Lady, who as it turned out was only trying to scare them, but actually did ditch them when she thought they were trying to replace her with the girls. This led to Lady snapping and then getting herself blasted off right into Sapphire that triggered Himiko's transformation into Princess and yeah, when are we gonna get to the house that Jack built? Okay, but seriously, I love how actually tightly scripted this episode is, with pretty much every unfortunate event leading into the next, like dominoes. It results in both some great pacing and humor for how surreally everything is just kind of falling into place. And it would only continue when Sakurako arrived with Himiko's order, as well as Soichiro's gift, which was some lipstick that Princess proceeded to doodle on her fellow monster-in-waiting. This resulted in Seducer being released, and a little tussle between the girls' rogues gallery. And surprisingly enough, 1/3 of the Amoeba Boys came out on top. Still, when the three villainesses realized they had all gripes with the girls in regards to their statue, they decided to work together. They ended up naming their little group the Ladies Monstars, not Stirs, which just makes me think about the original Space Jam, not the sequel. And hey, at least they didn't have to go through half a dozen pretentious name changes. With Princess's money, the Lady Monstars were able to put together a proper Lupin-style heist, complete with a warning letter. The girls also tried to protect the statue alongside the mayor's 1,000-member Secret Service. This is what your tax dollars are going to, everyone. Granted, it's not the worst thing at the moment, but still. However, the Ladies Monstars had a surprisingly solid plan involving
triangulate their firepower.
I don't know why, but I just love that clip. But yeah, by attacking from 3 corners with disposable robots, they managed to split up both the girls and the mayor's Secret Service. From there, one last distraction from a Momoko who sounded more like Ompu.
敵の狙いは市長の誘拐のようです。
left the statue open for the taking. The girls seemingly stopped them, but they had actually already switched it out. Well, still looks better than anything from the Diamond Select line. Still, it did nothing to improve their notoriety, so the villainesses tried to buy everyone's admiration with a half-hearted Robin Hood-esque routine. However, rather than just dropping cash like she did in the last episode, Princess instead tried to drop some exotic fruits on everyone. Oh, come on, dude. That's not how you henching into Kamen Rider Bravo. From there, they crashed a baseball game and then tried to pull one of the most legitimately villainous acts of them all, forming an idol group. Also, pretty princess lady monsters. Okay, are y'all trying to spell it right or wrong? Pick one. Anyway, the girls soon arrived to deal with them, and while I'll admit that the fights throughout this episode have been pretty awful in terms of pure visuals, I do have to give points for creativity of how they worked in each character's power sets. In particular, as I've said, Lei got in some good performances, including here where her slimy body acted as a great defense for her team. However, after a kind of pointless argument between the girls over who was the statue's centerpiece, they used a rather clever tactic to work around Lei's defenses by using some sports chalk that's usually meant to absorb moisture from an athlete's hand, or in this case, dry out the giant amoeba. And from there, the baddies became easy pickings. Unfortunately, the statue was destroyed in the process because I guess it was inside of Lady the whole time. I don't know, it wasn't well explained here. Still, everything turned out well for everyone, with the Amiibo Boys welcoming back a more politically correct lady, Soichiro finally manning up admitting he got the lipstick for Sakurako, and Himiko learning that her father was primarily making an Odaiba Gundam-sized statue for her, and that the girls' statue was just made from its scraps. Granted, he was still putting a little more effort into a gift for Himiko's sister, but hey, at least the guy knows how to multitask. With that, the episode ended with Ken and Peach managing to repair the statue, revealing that everyone was the centerpiece of this story. This was a really fun episode, with some really tight scripting when you really stop and think about it. A lot ended up happening in just this one episode, between the villainesses developing their envies towards the girls, coincidentally coming together to form a makeshift team, and of course, all of the stuff involving the statue, complete with a pretty great final battle. Pretty much every event flowed into the other, making for a very well-structured plot for an episode in this series. I would definitely call this one of the better rogues gallery team-ups I've ever seen in superhero media. At least they didn't have to rely on a lot of senseless cussing. While OG Princess did work with a lot of villains, this was definitely one of the more unique team-ups for this show. Here, she ended up bringing together all of the show's major villainesses, kind of like Harley Quinn and her many team-ups, and while that character has kind of gotten overexposed recently, it's still a fun concept when they take full advantage of the characters' personalities. This is certainly the case for this episode, as not only were the ladies' Monstars a lot of fun thanks to their budding egos, they were also a pretty effective team whom, if they had set their sights higher than just fame and some stupid statue, they might become one of the girls' stronger adversaries. They also made for a fun parallel to our heroines, who also had some underlying massive egos in regards to that same statue. The difference was that they managed to put all of that aside and defeated them in one of the better fights of the series. And while the animation of the show isn't anything great yet, the scripting, especially for this episode, was very tight, focusing on what was important and keeping the plot flowing from one scene to the next, leading to one of the most watchable episodes of the series in my opinion. So overall, I thought this was a great episode that took full advantage of some of the best members of the show's rogues gallery. The only thing that might have made it better was perhaps adding in a vigilante who I just have the hardest time seeing. And with that, we're finally back on schedule after that Tropical Rouge overview ended up taking a lot of time and focus to make. Our release schedule going forward will try to remain this consistent even with the Sunday videos, with some special reviews while Toei Animation tries to get themselves back on schedule. So look forward to all that, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and if you'll excuse me, I'm going to be busy in the kitchen.